the negative thoughts. But then we have been, having this tradition of having motivating all the students, giving them way forward, to come out of this situation mentally. I understand physically we are not allowed to move out of the places now, but we are making these efforts to keep you all motivated, keep have these positive thoughts and inspirational talks. And today we have with us Vikasa chairman of other branches like Thane, Rahul Garat, then from Navi Mumbai, Sanjay Bhujbal, and from Satara, Rushikesh Wangde. So it is a very joint effort, and I really want to congratulate all the Vikasa chairmen of all the branches to join hands, in making this event possible. And I just want to also inform all the students that this lockdown has given a lot of opportunities, to connect to all the branches which are remote from our locations. Otherwise, physically, this would have been a big challenge. But then this lockdown has given us an opportunity to meet and connect with like-minded people, like-minded branches, and have wonderful programs. And one such example is Rushikesh, who has done a wonderful job during this lockdown period, has connected to so many students and has, given them a lot of inputs with regards to the course, and have been also having this inspirational talks regularly, which has been very successful in his this time during this time. Now I would now request the Thana Vikasa chairman Rahul Garat to please offer his opening remarks. Yes, Rahul.
Hello, hello Kalyan, hello Dombivli, Thane, Satara, and Navi Mumbai. Hope we are all safe. Hope we are all safe. Friends, I again would like to welcome you all and all dignitaries present today. And great initiative from Kalyan Dombivli branch and Vyomesh to connect all of us, rest of the branches. Anushri, you are true inspiration for we Thanetis, and we are proud of you. One inspiration is required for you to be inspiration for all, but be the one for yourself first. Thank you, Kaushik. I will sum up myself, and thank you once again. Over to you, Kaushik.
Yeah, thanks, Rahul. Thanks for your opening remarks. Now I request Sanjay Bhujbal ji, Vikasa chairman from Navi Mumbai branch, to please offer the opening remarks and his words for the students. Yes, Sanjay ji.
Thank you, Kaushik ji. Thank you, Rahul ji. Good evening to all dignitaries on the screen. Yomi ji, Anushri ma'am, Rahul Garat from Thane Vikasa, Rushikesh from Satara, Kaushik ji from Dombivli Kalyan, the Bhuj branch, and all my dear students. We all Vikasa branches of various places are organizing all these webinars for you. Due to COVID, we are confined to stay at our home. I was not able to get out of our homes. Now unlock 5 is there, but still we are confined to stay at our home. And we are organizing all the seminars. Your exams also been postponed, and you have got ample time which can be utilized for your betterment. Maybe it is to be studies or in any other way. All the Vikasa branches are coming up with the various webinars which were much more fruitful to all of us. But today also, the Kalyan Domboli branch along with us is coming up with the excellent webinar in which CA Umesh and Anusha ma'am will be interacting with each other. I hope all of you will be gaining tremendously with this webinar. I wish you all the best, my dear students. Thank you very much for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my views with you. Thank you very much. Over to you, Kaushik sir.
Yeah, thanks, Sanjay ji. Thanks for enlightening the students and blessings. And now I request Rushikesh, the star performer of this, the webinars, to please share his views. Karan, you please don't unmute me now. I'll mute myself.
Yes, thank you, Kaushik ji, for giving this, inviting me to this session and for arranging this wonderful initiative for the students. This will be very useful for all the students, and इस लॉकडाउन की वजह से जो नेगेटिव माइंडसेट होता है वो दूर करने के लिए दिस सेशन विल बी वेरी वेरी यूजफुल. I also thank Thane branch Vikasa chairman Rahul Garg ji, Navi Mumbai branch chairman Vikasa chairman Sanjay Bhujbal ji for supporting this initiative, and all I once again acknowledge the support given by all these branches, especially Kaushik ji for our organizing online crash course for CA students, which has been very successful, and approximately 4,500 students have been registered for this event. If anybody has missed it out, please do register it so that we can provide you the lectures once again. Thank you, Kaushik ji, for taking this very, very wonderful initiative. And I rest my words, and I first of all congratulate and wish you all the very best for your upcoming exams to all the students. Thank you very much. Over to you, Kaushik ji.
I think Kaushik is again muted.
Umesh ji, then you can take charge.
Umesh, you have to unmute yourself first.
Yeah, okay. So thanks, Rushikesh, for sharing your thoughts. Now, well, the moment has come to, listen to the two wonderful and very intelligent personalities here, Vyomesh Pathak and Anushri Naik. Well, I would request Vyomesh to please take charge of the sessions and introduce yourselves.
Yeah, Kaushik, I have one request. If you can stop all the videos and keep only mine and Anushri's, because on YouTube, I think everybody is seen on YouTube, which is...
Okay, so Karan, because I don't have this facility, I'm on the from mobile. So Karan, I would request if you can, stop all the videos.
Any admin can do that, Rishikesh can do that. And let me and Anushri be there on the video so that it's better.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Over to you, Yamesh. Thank you so much.
Yes,
thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So I hope all of you are safe and sound. And here we go. Good evening, everyone. I have with me Anushri Naik, the guest speaker and the guest of honor for tonight, for today evening. Let me have the privilege to introduce her to all present here. So just to give a brief background about Anushri, she is of course a chartered accountant, qualified in her second attempt. I repeat, second attempt, and she is very proud to be a second attempt. For all those who are second or third attempt, mind you, Anushri is very proud to be second attempt. She has done her graduation from R.A. Podar, and she has been excellent in her career, in her academic career, right from her schooling till her graduation to MCom till CA final. And last but not the least, she is an IIM Ahmedabad candidate for 2020 to 22 for the post graduation course, and she has scored 98.2 percentile in CAT. I repeat, 98.2 percentile, which is a great achievement and a proud moment for all of us. So with this, I present before you Anushri Naik. Welcome Anushri, and a very warm good evening on behalf of all four branches.
Thank you, Vyomesh. I take the liberty to call you by your first name so that it does not become very formal here.
Definitely, definitely.
So thank you for this very gracious introduction. I am humbled. I also thank CA Kaushik ji, CA Sanjay ji, CA Rishikesh ji, and CA Rahul Gharat ji for giving me this opportunity to address you all and talk in such a good forum with CA Vyomesh, of course. Just to give an introduction to CA Vyomesh, he does not need any. All his students know him very well. He is in very touch with all of them. He is the associate director for corporate and international taxation division at BSR and Company LLP. He has been in corporate taxation practice for 11 years now. I couldn't have ever thought of doing tax anytime more than the CA final exams. But what attracts me about him is that he is in touch with all his students. He does a lot of mentoring sessions for his students at various classes at Vikasa events, and that's something catches my attention, along with writing articles for e-newsletters for Tax Sutra. He's also anchored a book on ICDS. I don't know how much time do you get in a day to do all of this, but it's really commendable, and I'm glad and honored to share this with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So I think this was a brief introduction about both of us, and now we directly straight come to the point for which we have gathered. The topic is failure a real roadblock? So before coming on to the to directly to the failure, let us first hear about the guest of honor tonight, Anushri. How was her journey till date? And knowing Anushri since almost her childhood, I know how she has grown. And Anushri, I would like you to share how was your schooling done. What were you as a student? Because education begins at the school. So I would, or even rather, everybody would like to understand, were you brilliant right from the childhood, right from the schooling, or how was it?
Okay, so I come from an upper middle class family, born and brought up in Thane. My father is a chartered accountant and he's been practicing since 3 decades now. My mother is a housewife. I have a sister who is doing general surgery in Karnataka. So education was always very important for both of us. We were taught and brought up to value education. So academically, I was sound, I was decent in school as well as in college. But something that I'd like to highlight is I wasn't a public speaker. I wasn't comfortable to talk really on the mic or in front of a group in school, which is what I saw change in me when I entered college. So when I went to Podar for my graduation, right from 11th standard, from junior college to graduation, that is the change that I saw in me. Even during articleship, I did my articleship from CVK and Associates, and I got the time to do extracurriculars along with academics. So academics was always sound, it was always there. But I think at the age of 16 to 18 is when I realized that I wanted to do something else as well. And maybe that's what I have actually followed.
Okay, so moving on to, as you said that you were not a born speaker, you started speaking or you started your extracurricular activities while you were in college. So what was it that intuited you to go towards this? I would say the public speaking or extracurricular activities, and how does it help you even in academics?
Yeah, so I think somewhere in junior college, I have to mention that the first elocution I ever participated in was a Thane Vikasa elocution competition. So I'm very glad that I started my public speaking stint with Thane Vikasa and then went on to the regional level at WIRC. So that is how it began, very slowly participating in very minor elocution competitions in college. Podar gave me a lot of opportunities to open up. So that is how I began. And I'm so glad that I did that along with CVK articleship as well, because today it really helps me, of course, to talk on such forums with such esteemed interviewers or judges or whoever it is. And it also, of course, helped me in my interviews at B schools. So, and I think it builds a confidence in the entire person. You are more comfortable in your own skin when you start doing public speaking. So I think that is the change that I saw in me, and I'm so glad that I pursued public speaking very passionately, because it definitely helps while you start working in a corporate or you want to present yourself somewhere.
All right. So effectively, your colleging etc. was done in RA Podar, and I'm sure you were also a bright student right throughout your college as well. And what intuited you, or what I would say, what was the trigger for you to join the chartered accountancy course? Because I'm sure you have one background. Naik sir is there in your family who is a chartered accountant and who is practicing since 1987, if I remember correctly. So was that the motivator for you, that yes, I want to be a chartered accountant like my father? Or generally what happens is, when we have a person in our family itself, either we get motivated or we get demotivated. You know, no, I don't want to do all this. I don't want these bulky books, etc. So what was your thought process when you decided to go for the chartered accountancy course one? And the connected question is, how did your family and specifically your father, how did he react?
So I'll answer this very honestly, Vyomesh. At the age of 17 or 18, I actually did not know why I wanted to do CA. Commerce was something I liked. Accounts is something that I loved. So I think somewhere between deciding what not to do, I decided that I want to do CA. Of course, having a father who is a chartered accountant definitely gave the cushioning, but there was absolutely no pressure from family or from anybody else to pursue a CA course. But I think CA course is something that is the most credible in the commerce background, and it opens a lot of avenues. I mean, sitting in front of you who is in a tax consultancy, and I'm nowhere even near to tax consultancy, and I don't want to be as well. But CA has given me the opportunity to go into so many different fields. In spite of working in a corporate and doing auditing in my articleship, it does not bound you. So I think that is what attracted me more about CA, is that it throws a lot of opportunities to you, and it grooms you at a very young age. I don't think any other profession gives you the liberty to do training while studying for the course. So while you're studying theoretically, you're also practicing, which helps a lot. So I think somewhere between canceling out on other things and liking something about the CA course, I decided to do the CA course. So that was about it.
And how was your reaction about the people around you? That yes, because you know, coming from a family which might have a lot of, you know, doctors, engineers also, and very few chartered accountants around, how did they take you in terms of, अरे तू पण अजून एक सीए कशाला पाहिजे घरात, or whatever? Was it that how did the people react around?
So actually, I actually don't come from a family of CAs. I come up from a family of doctors, engineers, lawyers, scientists. So my father was the first chartered accountant, I think, in the entire family, and then I was next. So I think actually I never really paid so much attention on what people said because I can't remember anything. But I think now they are very happy that I've not settled just for CA and I've gone ahead. Some people were, of course, suggesting to be a cushion to my dad's practice firm. But I think this is what I've decided, and I'm here.
Okay, so while you have coined that question, let me ask, or while you have coined this thought that being cushioned to the father's practice, now let me ask you this related question immediately. I was supposed to take it later, but still, uh, uh, obviously MBA is something which many of us wanted to do, or many of you know, students want to pursue, but it is not everybody's cup of tea, I would say. uh, I would ask you the same question, that why you didn't. One is, it is about consultancy. You could have taken the platform provided by your father and taken the practice of the firm to a newer height. Why did you choose, first of all, to go to industry first and then this MBA, of course?
Okay, so after completing my CA course, I was inclined towards taking up a corporate job and look how it turns out to me. I wanted to experience it for a year, which I did exactly. And I started enjoying the corporate culture, frankly. So I liked working in a corporate, working for a company. For a lot of people, it might sound very boring or not very interesting to work from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 under somebody else, and which is why people go into practice. But I actually enjoyed the entire culture of working in a corporate, and that is when I found out that I would like to go up the corporate ladder very soon. And MBA, of course, gives you one chance. Not that chartered accountants don't get a chance to go ahead in industry, but if one of the avenues is open, I think taking it up is not a bad thing.
Okay.
That is how I decided for not doing a CA practice. Of course, there wasn't any mental block that Papa jo kar raha hai, wo nahi karna hai. It wasn't that way. But working in a CA, like during my articleship, I realized that tax is definitely what I don't want to do because I didn't understand it very well. But an audit, I thought maybe I couldn't do it for a long term, like for a lifetime. So I think these are the two main things that people usually do in a CA practice: tax and audit. And I didn't want to do both of them for a long term. So I think that is how I decided.
Okay, so you did your articleship from a mid-sized firm called CVK in Mulund. How was your experience and exposure over there, and did it help in your qualifying as a chartered accountant in your CA finals, or was it a problem in terms of studying, etc.? How did you cope up with both of them?
Okay, so for my the first when I was starting to decide upon an articleship firm, I was sure that I wanted to go to a mid-sized firm because I had already started enjoying college. So this was the perception that maybe if you join a big four like KPMG or Deloitte, or you join a very one of the important tax firms like Grant Thornton or something like that, I might not have the time to actively pursue my hobbies or extracurricular activities along with graduation and CA studies. So which is why I selected a mid-sized firm. And I am so glad I did that because I could do a lot of extracurricular activities during that time. And I also got an exposure into all these things like audit, tax, everything. That is how I understood I don't like all of this. So until and unless I would have practiced them, I would have maybe not understood that maybe this is not I wanted to do for the lifetime. I, of course, enjoyed audit a lot in during articleship, but then it gave me a good exposure into a lot of things. So at this point, I want to ask you, I don't want to lose this opportunity to ask you that what made you shift from a like you did your articleship in a mid-sized firm and then you are now the associate director of BSR and Company. That is the highest graph I think I've ever seen. So was it challenging for you? Was it difficult? I think we all want to know.
Yeah, so to be honest, while I started, now most of you know that I stay at Kalyan, and for me, what was important was clearing in first attempt. At the same time, I wanted a practical exposure in most of the things that the chartered accountancy firm does. So therefore, I had a choice to either go to a big four doing articleship, which is far across in Mumbai, travel all the way, or I restrict myself to say Thane, Mulund, and get a better exposure in a good mid-sized firm, which ultimately I chose, and I am proud, or I would say I was very correct in my decision in joining the firm which I did, which gave me all the basics. I have done all the things that a chartered accountancy practice does, right from audit to bank audits to RBI audits to the taxation. And then in the second year of my articleship, I decided, and I also communicated it to my principal, that yes, taxation is something which I find interest in, and I want to do my career in taxation. And right from second year, my principal also was very, very supportive, and he gave me a lot of taxation assignments. He involved me in scrutinies, assessments, etc. So this is how I was inclined to taxation right from my articleship days. And to be honest, I never decided that I will be in big four. I never dreamt also that I will be a associate director or even wherever I am today. I am a person who believes just to go with the flow. I never used to plan in advance when I was a kid. Of course, now I do plan because it is required in life. So at that point in time, to be honest, if you ask me, did I ever thought of joining a big four? The answer is no. In fact, I also had thoughts to continue where I was and continue with the firm for even for a longer period of time. But at the same point in time, I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to venture myself into international taxation and the complicated M&A assignments, etc. So that is where I started looking out for opportunities, and I gave a couple of interviews elsewhere, but it didn't work. And ultimately, this opportunity came to me, the Big Four. And in fact, let me tell you, it was the second round of interview that I cleared. And ultimately, I joined Big Four in 2009. And today is 2020. I'll be completing 11 years in the same firm, in the same place next week, precisely next week. And yes, this is where I am.
So I have two questions from whatever you said. I'm not going to lose this chance. One is, how did you understand in your second year of articleship that you want to do taxation? Because I think I was very confused, and I think a lot of people are confused. Was it just your gut feeling, or did you talk to a lot of seniors? How did you decide that you want to do a career in tax? And second is, were there any challenges you faced once you switched from a small firm culture to a corporate culture? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Did me? Yeah. So coming to the first question on how did I decide? Did I ask anybody? To be honest, you can tell me a stubborn person, but I am somebody who doesn't seek for a lot of advices apart from my seniors. And because I believe that when you ask people around, everybody will have their own opinion, and somewhere you lose your own creativity or your own thought process. So therefore, uh, direct tax, even in tax, I would prefer that direct tax or income tax was something which interested me, because one, right from my academics, I started liking the subject. Secondly, thankfully, I got the opportunity to work on practical matters on income tax in my articleship days. And somewhere the dots got connected automatically, and I got support from my sir also, you know because he also accepted my thoughts. And while I explored everything for a couple of years, towards the end of second year, I decided, no, that my focus is clear. I want to do tax, I want to do income tax. That was very clear. And thanks to my sir, he supported me right from that day, and here I am today. And coming to your second question on, was it difficult to come to a big four right from the mid-size? Definitely, it was very, very challenging initially, because altogether you come to a corporate culture. In of course, in your articleship days, you are a child, you are a kid, and you have people around to take care of you in your office. Even at your client places, you have seniors to accompany you. But when you are in a corporate world, now Big Four is a quasi corporate, and I would say a way beyond corporate also, because we deal with lot other corporates also. It is a altogether sea change, I would say. And right from your attitude to your behavior to the way you speak, the language, we generally are used to speak. Generally, when we are talking to peers, we either talk in our vernacular language, Hindi, English, Gujarati, Marathi, whatever. But in a Big Four culture, initially the language was first thing. Of course, it's not that English is something which I don't prefer, but it is you have to shift, directly. And dealing with multinational clients, initially you don't understand the language also. The diction which they speak English and our English is altogether different. So of course it was a sea change. The culture was a sea change. The type of work they do was a sea change. The reason being, we were used to handle SMEs, the small and medium clients, but there you have huge corporates, large corporates, and you report to multiple people there. In the original firm, when I left the firm, I was almost a partner there, and I was reporting to nobody. In fact, literally nobody. I was leading my team there, and all of a sudden, leading a team, you are here in a corporate world at the bottom of the ladder, and you have multiple people to whom you have to report. So, of course, it was a huge cultural change which you need to adopt. And I would say yes, initial years are a challenge. You would see the issues coming. You need to modify yourself. You need to gel with the people. You need to adaptability is the key, I would say, in the corporate world, and more so in the big four. And I have seen this question coming to many from many circles, that is it possible for me from a mid-sized firm to join a big four? It is very difficult. So here I am from a mid-size, and I'm proud to be from mid-size, because yes, I got to learn many things there. Because what happens is, if you join directly a big four culture is something which is more of specialization. So if you join at an early age, say from articleship, you don't get to learn many aspects. You are there for either you are in tax or you are in audit, or whichever practice you are. You don't get to venture the other practices. So therefore, either you decide that yes, I can continue doing this for my lifetime, or the second way around is you explore everything and then you decide. So the second route is what I selected. And as you can see, it is challenging, but yes, here I am in front of you. If I can make it, anybody can make it.
Great, great. I think that definitely again reiterates our title that nothing is a roadblock.
Precisely.
Yeah, true, true. Great.
Yeah. So coming to your, I would say, academics, I'm sure you cleared your CPT, was it? Or was it PE1? What do you call
No,
it?
so I cleared CPT and IPCC in the first attempt, and then of course CA final.
So I know that you scored tremendously well in both CPT and IPCC, and most of the people around you, and including yourself, might also be expecting a rank from you in a CA final, and I'm sure you might have prepared as well for the same. So tell me, what was your preparation for your first attempt, and then we come to the failure part later. But how did you prepare for CA final? Was it anywhere different from the IPCC, or how was it?
So it wasn't really different from CPT and IPCC. I was always a sincere student and I studied sincerely, like most of the CA students are. I think CA students are the most sincere you can ever meet. And so I did that. But I think somewhere I went wrong during my CA final studies. I couldn't maybe grasp a few concepts, or I couldn't get into the language that a examiner needs while correcting papers, or something. I definitely feel something might have gone wrong, which is why I did not clear my CA final like the first attempts of my IPCC and CPT. Or maybe I think MCQs is my kind of thing, because in CPT I was very close to a rank, and that was an MCQ paper, and so is CAT. So I think MCQs is my thing, or I don't know really, but something might have gone wrong during the CA final. Or I might have enjoyed practical learning so much that I couldn't go back to theoretical type of learning. But at the end of the day, we all realize that whatever is required, you need to do that. And whatever the examiner or whatever ICI expects, you have to reproduce that in paper or in exams to clear your CA finals, no matter what it costs you, because in the end, it's all worth it.
So now coming to the failure, you didn't clear in your first attempt, right? So what was your reaction immediately when you saw your mark sheet?
So I started crying, frankly, and I have no shame in admitting it, because you never expect a failure, because I had a very good academic background. As I said, most CA students have very great academic background, which is why they either join or are forced to join CA course, because everybody knows the rigor of this course. So of course it was shock, it was disappointment, everything else. But when I look back to it right now, I think it was very brief. About 2 to 3 days to a week, I think. That was all that I took to come out of it, because there were people who supported me, my family, my closest friends. So I think once you accept it, that it is the law of nature that you have to fall and then get up, it becomes easy. Initially, it was very difficult for a week or so, but then you have to get up and study for the second attempt. And I always knew that giving up was not an option. So I had to complete the CA course, which would then give me a step to jump on to MBA. So I knew that I have to finish this.
So was it like, why only me? My friends got cleared. Why can't I? I was better than them, etc., etc. Was that feeling somewhere in your mind coming?
Yeah, I think that always strikes. I mean, that three idiots thing is very true, that जब कोई दोस्त फेल होता है तो बुरा लगता है, but जब कोई दोस्त आगे जाता है तो ज़्यादा बुरा लगता है. That's true, but that's for a very brief point. And I think that is exactly the time I understood that all these matter, all these things don't matter. And that is where I think I grew from a CA final student to an aspirant in the right terms, because an aspirant never gives up. An aspirant does not compare him or her with the peers. So that phase was very important, very crucial, very useful, because it's one of the things that I'll never forget. It made me more humble, and it made me realize that no matter how much you try for something that you really want, something can always go wrong, and you don't have to hold yourself guilty for that. You will get your share of success whenever it's due.
Okay, so was it a feeling? Let me ask you, which most of the students also have, that somewhere ICI is not doing fair in failing me, or maybe the process is not transparent, etc. Anything of that sort came to your mind?
No, actually, no. I had thought that I'll get such minds because I had done everything that it takes for a CA final student to clear. But no, when I so everybody who is about to take CA final attempt or who has failed the last attempt, I took photocopies of my paper from the previous attempt, and I exactly realized where I had gone wrong. So I had not cleared only one subject, which was ISCA. So I'd only failed in one subject, and I exactly knew where I lacked, because there are a lot of YouTube videos. I don't know whether it's legal or anything to say such things, but there are a lot of videos which show papers of toppers, and you can always ask your friends who to help you out to understand where did you lack. So I completely had a difference in what I had written in the papers and what others expect out of you. So I never felt that there was definitely a deficiency in the quality of my answers. So I exactly knew where to improve, and that made it very easy for me, that I could exactly know. So whoever has failed or is trying to get back, do analyze where you went wrong, because that is the first step towards clearing the next attempt. So do that.
Perfectly. So as you rightly said, self introspection is the first step to, to your success, and to come over your failures, rather than looking for reasons outside. Before I ask the further question to Anusri, I would just like to add here that I have seen many students, cribbing that the paper correction is not proper, etc. Blah blah blah. Let me tell you one thing: all these are external factors which you can never ever control, right? So therefore, rather than focusing on those aspects, you should focus on what you can do right, where you went wrong. And as Anusri rightly said, that the very correct step is to call for your papers, check your answers with your model answer paper. See, it is also about the interpretation. You might interpret a question or an answer in your own way, but what ICI expects might be something different. So it is always good to go back to the drawing table and compare your answer sheets, rather than continuing the same mistakes time and again. So this is something very very important, rather than cribbing. And you will find many people around you who will support you, that ICI to aisa hi hai, aisa hota hai, waisa hota hai. All those are crap. Let me tell you honestly, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है. They do what they are supposed to do. We must do what we are supposed to do. And as Anusri has rightly done, call for your papers, compare it with your model answers, and go with a clean frame of mind in the next attempt, and you will crack it for sure. So, Anusri, coming to your second attempt, how were your preparations? Anything different you do from your first attempt? What was the change that you made in your approach towards your examination?
So when you ask me about the change in my approach, I think a little small changes I made was the way you look at a exam. I think I started to take exams lightly, started to believe that it's just another test you have to take in life and it's fine. So I think there's a change in attitude, a change in maturity levels once you face a failure. So for just to give an example, I used to sleep like ridiculously less amount of hours before exam. I used to sleep like 2 hours, 3 hours, especially for papers like audit, law, and ISCA, wherein there's a lot to do one day before. And I think a lot of people do that. I mean, they end up sleeping only for 3 to 4 hours. And I changed that in my second attempt because I was advised by a lot of seniors also, and a lot of batchmates who helped me out through this process, that sleep longer, maybe you will be able to reproduce your answers better, you'll be fresher. And that's exactly what I did. I slept for a minimum of 6 to 7 hours before my second attempt. So if you realize that you have to make some lifestyle changes, then do make it. Uh, don't neglect them, that this is my way of life and I am a night person or something of that sort. If you feel that there's something that you want to change about yourself, do change. I suddenly moved from sleeping for 2 hours before my first attempt papers to sleeping about 12 hours before my CAT exam, and I think I clearly saw my result. So I was advised to sleep 12 hours, like not even 7 to 8 hours, 12 whooping hours before my CAT exam, because CAT is such that you have to be attentive for 3 hours in an MCQ test. So I think such small changes, eat healthy, sleep well, all these changes definitely help. And I started to take less stress, which also I think helped me a lot.
Precisely. So this is very, very important, critical, which you just highlighted, that staying cool in your CA final is the biggest plus point. 90% of the students are well prepared, let me tell you honestly, but hardly 10-15% clear both the groups. And those 10-15%, you might say they are lucky, but I would say they are the ones who have been the most calm persons during the days of examination, who have never ever panicked or who have panicked to the minimum. And this is what I say to all my students, that you should have a piece, or I would say a lump of ice on your head while going for your CA final examination. Know my baggages of your past history, be it your past successes or be it your past failures. Past is past. Focus on the present, and give your best. The God will do the rest, is what I always say my students. That, and as you rightly said, sleep is something very, very important. I have seen students overdoing in the examination days, and ultimately that results in a failure because you are not fresh during the examination day. All your efforts throughout the night may go in vain in your 3 hours, because I have seen people who have gone sleepy in the examination just because they have overdone all the night. So don't ever do that. I know many of you might be night, you like studying in night. See, everybody will have their own way of studying. I won't come in between the way you study, but what is important and what is critical is that you need enough rest. Your body and your mind needs enough rest while you go for sleep or while you go for your papers. So the more fresh, the more cool, the more calm you are, the more probability will be for you to clear your examinations, be it any examination or any competitive examination for that matter. So, Anushri, I have a request for you. What was your, total, if you remember, the marks in your first attempt and your marks in your second attempt?
So my first attempt, my ISCA score was 31 out of 40. I mean, out of 100, and 40 was the passing. If I would have scored a 31 out of 40, I would be very elated. But yeah, it was 31 out of 100, and I was 9 marks short of passing. And in my second attempt, it was 71. So it was almost double the marks of my first attempt. And
71 from 31.
yeah.
So was it an open book exam?
No, it wasn't, but it was definitely something that I did right in the second attempt, that I scored that. And I as well scored the other subjects also. I scored a lot more than what I had scored in the first attempt, which in fact brought my total to 478, which then helped me in my MBA entrance composite score.
So see, here you are, as in from 31 to 71. This is the leap which everybody here is listening to, and which is, I would say, a miraculous comeback. 31 to 71 is something which people might have never thought of, because what happens in many a times in second attempt is people go like, "Arey, ye to ho gaya hai. I have already studied this. I have already read this. I know this. I remember this." People start taking things lightly more than which is required, and this is where they also panic. And so therefore you should know the line of difference, as in what should I do to better my performance. At the same time, it is something called a SWOT analysis. You improve your strengths, you work on your weaknesses, and this is how you come back in your upcoming exam or the next or the upcoming attempt. So this is where, the real life example which we wanted to showcase you. 31 from 31 to 71, and of course 98.2 in something in CAT. If I add my all the curriculum totals in my school, I would never have reached 98. Let me be honest with you. So this is something which we wanted you to highlight, as in how did failure help you, to come back as a better person, come back as a better candidate, and a better student or a stronger student. So so what are your takes on how did failure help you?
Okay, so I think it helped me in two very different ways. One is that I had realized the burden of a second attempt, and I did not want to take a second attempt ever in my life. If I have to, definitely I should be open to it. But I was even more determined to clear CAT in the very first attempt, which a lot of less CAT aspirants do, because they take the first attempt very lightly as a trial test. We don't do that in CA exams. We never take an attempt as trial. But in CATs, the culture around engineers, even around a lot of people who aspire to do MBA, always take 2 to 3 attempts, because they always take the first attempt as a trial attempt. But I think I was very sure from the beginning that I just want to take one attempt for CAT, and if it's this attempt, then I have to do the best in this attempt itself. So that is how it helped me, that I wanted to bounce back even stronger. And the second thing it helped me is like the same thing I said, that I started to take less stress. I started to do better time management, that whenever I study effectively and productively, in spite of it not being long hours. If I study even for shorter hours, it should be really helpful, because I had to balance it with work. So I think that is what I realized from failure, that it's okay to take breaks sometime. It's okay to take things at your own pace. You don't have to compare yourself with anybody else. And I approached CAT with a very individual perspective. I did not compare myself with anybody. I actually did not do well till the very end. And had I compared myself with other engineers' performance till the end of the mock tests or practice tests, I would have been really disheartened, and I might have not performed very well on the exam day. But there was a drastic change in my attitude of looking at exams as such. So I think that really helped me to maintain my own calm during my CAT exam.
So being a chartered accountant and having seen one failure, did it help you in one preparing and also clearing your MBAs, the CAT for the MBA?
Yeah, so if you go into technicals, what MBA, the way the colleges give out interview calls is not just based on your CAT score. I think a lot of people don't know that interview calls are let out on the basis of a composite score. The composite score is a derivation of weighted average of your 10th score, 12th score, graduation, CA, if you have any professional degree like CA, CS, ICWA, these scores, your work experience, and your extracurricular achievements. So it's a calculation of all 5 of these. So it definitely helped me in 2 ways. One, because I did not have to study a lot for graduation, because I had already done those subjects, and I scored really well in graduation, which is why that score boosted. And second thing is because in the second attempt, since I scored a lot of marks, a lot of extra marks, that pushed my percentage to about 58, almost reaching 60 percentage, which definitely helped me in the derivation of that composite score. So seeing this failure, if anybody is in such a position that he or she wants to approach MBA after CA, and if you have failed an attempt, do make sure that you give your very best attempt in the second or the third attempt, whichever attempt is due, so that you score a really good total, and you get the benefit of that in your composite score derivation while going for an MBA.
All right. So before actually going on for a CAT, you were in a corporate Blue Star Limited for a year or so. So how was your journey? Because this, I'm sure, this was your first corporate experience post qualification. So how was that experience going with you in terms of the corporate lifestyle? Of course, you are also going from a mid-sized firm to a corporate, which many aspirants have, that I want to join a corporate in whichever field they want. So how different was it from your articleship days, and how was it, how people treated you, how you treated people there? So how was it about?
So I worked in the risk and control management department, which was under the finance department of Blue Star Limited. And the department looked into forensic audit, fraud risk management, internal control, IFC audit. So the work was definitely what interested me. So I've always been interested in analysis and fraud forensic audit. So I loved the work. Of course, there was a shift from a mid-sized culture to a corporate culture, but I actually enjoyed it because I met a lot of new people who are from different backgrounds. I think as CA students we don't really meet a lot of people outside of CA domain. We are always amongst our own friends, our mentors who are again chartered accountants. So I met a lot of people who were MBAs and who were engineers who work, since it's a manufacturing company, there were a lot of engineers who had then gone on to do MBA. So meeting these people actually made me decide and what I want to do in life and how they had charted out their career. That really helped. And corporates again tell you, I mean teach you to be more humble, because as you said that you are again at the bottom of the corporate ladder, and you have to somehow bridge the gap between you and the management so that you get a lot of exposure. So I was lucky that had direct interaction with the CFO of the company, and I learned a lot there in the manner of how the management thinks, how the top managers think, what is their thought process. So working in a corporate actually opened up avenues in the way that I could understand that there is definitely a gap of understanding and a gap of how decisions are made in a big organization. So that definitely helped me. Traveling was an issue because I had to travel 4 hours every day. But I think once you enjoy your job, everything else seems okay, and you are ready to take anything else if you enjoy your job. So I in fact realized that having a productive day at office increased my efficiency in studying as well. So whoever is doing articleship and is trying to crib, I think we all crib in the third year of our articleships ki bahut kaam hai. But if you enjoy your job, if you do it willingly and out of passion, I think you will get better at your CA final studies as well. And same with anything ahead in life.
Okay, so just joining the same question forward now, that you were in the industry for a year, at the same point in time towards the end of the year you were also preparing for CAT, and traveling time, plus you also do a lot of blogging stuff. So how did you manage all these together?
Okay, so I don't know whether I managed all of it. I just tried to ignore office after 6 p.m. Ignore my office and my boss. Of course, I did quality work during the 9 hours or 8.5, 9 hours, whatever. But after that, there was a clear decision in my mind that I had to cut off from office at 6 or 7, whatever. Some days were heavy, and that's perfectly fine. But that is how I managed by not mixing the two of them. So studying when it's your studying time and working when it's your working time was my simple formula to managing both of them. So in the morning I used to study from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. and then I used to leave for office. In the evening I used to try to come back earlier and attend classes, or maybe come home and solve some tests. So I think a little bit of effort on weekdays and a lot of effort on the weekends, because I had to miss out on office informal meets or casual meetings or picnics or parties or treks, all that which corporates arrange on weekends. So they arrange a lot of social cultural meetings. HR does that, but I had to give up on some of them, not all. But I think that is how it's pretty manageable. It's not at all very much a deal, but of course a little bit of discipline and sincerity is required.
All right, and coming to blogging, I know that you do a lot of blogging right from your teenage days, and I have read most of your blogs, and I see that most of them are too deep and too matured, I would say, at your age. Not that you are too small, or not that you are too young, but still, coming to the blogs which I have seen, most of those blogs are very intense, very deep, and there is a lot of, I would say, thought process beyond imagination also, which I would say, where does this thought come from? As in, how do you blog? What is the thought process behind doing that? And does it really help you? Has it really helped you in life?
So the first part of your question, I think I started blogging just out of interest. There was no particular aim or an objective to serve an audience or something. I just enjoyed writing. And I thought after writing 2 or 3 blogs, I realized that writing actually enhanced my vocabulary. It made me a better speaker. It made me it enabled me to get clear in my own thoughts. Some of them were absolutely, as you said, out of imagination, but it definitely helped me to elaborate better, to express better, which of course comes to use anytime you go ahead in life, that if you're able to express and communicate better, be it verbal, non-verbal, it helps. So I started that out of pure interest, just because it made me happy. I mean, anybody who has any other hobby like dancing, singing, it was very similar to that. It was helping me unwind from study to stress or work stress. So having a hobby definitely helps. And now I have switched to writing blogs about cat and how to study effectively, and that I think really helps a lot of people. So now, of course, now it has solidified into having an objective, but when I started out, there was no specific objective. I did it because I enjoyed it. So if anybody is looking out to have any hobby and pursue it passionately, please do, because I never knew that such blogging and questions on my blogs will be uh, come up in my MBA interviews. So in some of my MBA interviews, they had actually read my blogs beforehand, and then they questioned me on my blogs. And they, as you said, they were a little they were wondering how did these ideas come into my mind, and I could answer them very with a lot of conviction, because it was something that was close to my heart. So I think that definitely helped me in the long run.
Coming to your second interest, which I recently came across, is that you are a graphologist and a specialized or a certified signature analyst. First of all, let me ask you, what is it exactly?
So, graphology is the science and art of handwriting analysis. And of course, signature analysis is knowing about a person's character, skills, positive traits, negative traits, about his anger management abilities, about a person's little bit of a past, little bit of a present, not nothing about the person's future. So, we understand a basic and there's an understanding of a personality by his handwriting is graphology. And it is called as an art because there is an art attached to it, because there's a way you have to convince people that this is what is seen in your handwriting. After you do a lot of analysis, that is what I've realized after moving on from a graphologist to being a supervisor and an examiner at an institute. I've realized that the more you analyze handwriting, you get better at that art, because now you know how to tell people that these are their positive, these are their negatives. Graphotherapy is asking people to change little traits about that handwriting so that it has changes in their personality. So all this is also an art, because the more you practice it, the better you get at it. So yeah, that is about what it is.
So when did you start this? Was it after you qualified as a chartered accountant, or before that?
Yeah, so I was really young. I was 15 years old when I decided to do graphology, just out of pure interest. And actually, I wanted to study palmistry, but I was too young for palmistry. So then I decided to do graphology at the age of 15. I was the only teenager, or probably the only one below 25 in the batch. There were lawyers, criminal lawyers of age 70, 75, and they were very senior. But I think it's about how good you are at a particular subject that differentiates you. And I was surprised that I stood first in the entire examination. So since I pursued it out of passion and nothing else, I think that really helped.
So did your all these hobbies, as I see you have multiple hobbies, you were also volunteer at Vikasa, and you did a lot of activities like elocutions, paper writing, paper presentation, even during your studies, did it ever hinder your preparation time for examination, or did you ever think that in the hindsight that had I not done this, I would have cleared in first attempt, anything of that sort?
No, not at all. In fact, I feel all that definitely helped me because extracurricular is something that everybody should pursue, be it in any, be like it does not matter whether you're doing CA or not. You have to do them because it grooms you as a personality. Colleges are definitely a good platform for you to recognize your strengths and weaknesses and develop them. So, as I said, I thought I was too late to develop public speaking, but I think because of all those elocution competitions at the age of 18, which might seem like very too old for starting public speaking, it actually helps me today. So no matter how old you are, you should start now, start today, and don't think about anything else. Do it because you want to do it. So all these things, doing extracurriculars helped me, and of course it gave me brownie points while this MBA selection was happening.
All right. So last question before I hand it over to you, as in, what are your plans now going forward? Obviously, 2 years you will be at IIM Ahmedabad in the campus, and then the interviews, etc., will follow for the corporate life. Where do you see yourself 5 years down the line, or what are your long-term goals? As in, what do you want to do in life?
Okay, so having a background of CA definitely has given me an exposure into finance. Finance is something I'll be specializing in most probably. I'll also be studying a lot of strategy and analytics subjects in MBA because that is what I want to venture into. So having a CA definitely gives me that backing that if anything else I can, if not anything else, I can definitely fall back on finance. But I'd like to venture into strategy, analytics, a little bit of marketing and sales as well in my 2 years of MBA. And after that, probably join a consulting firm or a corporate and go into the top management of maybe strategy or analytics or something like that.
Okay, so I have one question related to this only. As in terms of timeline, from your CA final first attempt to second attempt, of course, it was 6 months, and then 1 year in corporate, and then if you can just briefly explain your journey from CA final first attempt to your cracking of CAT. How was that journey with a timeline?
Okay, so May 2018 was my first CA final attempt, and I did not clear that. So I took the second group again in November 2018. I cleared that group. The results were out in January 2019. Immediately, I joined Blue Star Limited through ICI campus placement in the month of March 2019. Somewhere in the initial 2-3 months, I decided that I wanted to take up CAT this year. So I started preparing for CAT from about April to May 2019 up till the first attempt of CAT, which was November 2019. So that is how I gave my first CAT attempt in November 2019. Luckily, it worked in my favor, and the results were out in January. The interviews took place in February before the lockdown, and results were out last week, and I also resigned. So completing 1 month exactly, 1 year exactly in a corporate and getting into an MBA was it fit perfectly. It fell into place, so I was fortunate.
Perfect. So effectively, a year in a corporate, and then the CAT, and then now you are here, moving on maybe next month to the campus. So we wish you all the very best for your journey ahead. And now I hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Vyomesh, so much. That I hope everybody has got a little bit of insights and know that they don't have to take a lot of stress now, even if they have attempts or even if they've not got what they wanted. So I think a first question by me for you will be: you are a first attempt clear. Correct me if I'm right or not. I mean,
Yes, I
yeah.
am.
So you cleared all your
Yes.
yeah. So you cleared all your CA final exams in your first attempt. I think that's a dream for everybody. It was for me, and everybody aims at it. Then, I mean, for me, CA failure was a big challenge. Was there any challenge for you from your background or something during the CA course which you felt changed you as a person and made you the person that you are today?
Yeah, so just to give you a background in terms of failure, I was one of the first graduates of my family, let me tell you. One
Okay.
of the first graduates forget a chartered accountant. So this was my background, and I was a completely opposite student as you were in the school, because I hated studies, to be honest. And I can proudly show you my mark sheets of 7th, 8th, and 9th. I'm sure you will never ever realize what it is, but there is something called promoted.
I
There's
know. Yeah.
something called promoted, which you would have never experienced. I have experienced that in my schooling life, right? 7th, 8th, 9th, I was promoted with grace marks. Every time in January, February, I was like, taking totals of my past marks, and just to ensure that somehow I clear through the 7th standard, 8th standard, 9th standard. And this was my journey. Then I came to 11th standard. Of course, commerce was by choice and not by chance. Commerce was something which I liked. Again, the reason being, I hated science. I didn't want to go for arts. So what was left is commerce. So therefore, I selected commerce. And it was then in 11th standard that I started liking the accountancy, which was my first favorite subject in my lifetime. And I started liking accountancy, and I that is where I realized that boss अपने में problem नहीं है, the problem is with the subjects, right? I didn't like geography, I didn't like history, I didn't like science, and that was all about in the schooling. So suddenly at that point in time I realized that was it is not about you. You are not a dumb. The subjects were something which you didn't like. You were at a wrong place at a wrong time. Now that you have decided to be in commerce, this is where you are. This is something which you have selected. So therefore suddenly I saw change in my mark sheets as well. The graph, if you see right from 11th standard to TY become, it was an upward graph, which is rarely a scenario. From 11th to TY, either you have a better scoring in 12th, then there is again a dip. Then again in TY, if you are doing chartered accountancy, then you give up on your TY become कि ठीक है अभी focus, let us focus on CA only, TY से क्या होने वाला है. But if you look at the graph, it has been an upward graph. The only reason being the subjects is something which I like. So there was a failure in the school days, but after that there was no failure and no looking back. So the very first point I tell, being a professor for more than 12 years now, that you need to start liking your subjects, right? You selected chartered accountancy not by force but by choice. There might be one or two subjects, for example ISCA or costing or whichever, for each student it might be different. As you didn't like tax, right? But you have to do tax. For whatever reasons you have to clear all 8 subjects, right? So therefore it is very very important for you to like your subjects, and your liking towards the subject will be reflected in your mark sheet, is which I personally believe. At times it might be a situation, or it might be a scenario that sometimes it might go wrong here and there, but I have never seen a student who likes accountancy and scoring 35 or 30 in accountancy. Never ever I have seen that in my career as a chartered accountant and in my career as a professor. And coming to failure, I have seen failures more than any chartered accountant student, because I fail every 6 months, right? With my students, I also fail every 6 months. So I also go through all those emotions time and again. And mind you, every time it is the same, every time it is unique, that I feel the pinch that why my ex student or Y student didn't clear. So I have also learned along the journey that what went wrong, because I sit with them, I analyze what went wrong, what was the issue, was it the subject, what is it, was it the paper, was it the preparation. We go back to the drawing board. So failure is something which should make you stronger rather than bring negativity in you. And cribbing, by cribbing you won't get anything, let me tell you honestly. Once you crib, you are just finding reasons to your failure, rather than, or rather you are just finding sources for your reasons in the external world, which will never ever help you. Rather than, it is time to go inside, go within you. Where did you fail, and where did you start your where did you go wrong? If you work on that, rather than blaming the institute, blaming the people around you, blaming your family, they didn't support, because all these thoughts obviously come once you fail. You just start trying to find something to push the buck on, which is something you should avoid. And failure is something, let me tell you, if I compare myself with Anushri, where she was as a student, I was not even 10%. I was a person who could never speak before even two persons. Forget about public speaking. Even after I cleared my chartered accountancy, I was not able to speak in front of two people. Public speaking to dur ka baat hai. Let me tell you, I started public speaking in 2015, and today we are in 2020. After I cleared my chartered accountancy, after I became a manager or assistant manager, in fact, it was then that I started public speaking. And here I am today, where people either call me a professor, they call me a technical speaker, they call me a motivational speaker. But let me tell you, I never ever started this at the age of Anushri. So Anushri has a long way to go. She is much ahead in the curve, I would say. But I started it in 2015. So let me tell you, it is never late. It is never ever late. You can start afresh at any age, be it chartered accountancy, be it public speaking. And of course, public speaking helps. And coming to the last part on the failures, I gave a couple of interviews before my interview at KPMG, or BSR as we call it, and I didn't clear that those two interviews. And somewhere I obviously, when you don't clear, you sit back and say what went wrong, and you again, the complaining is a human nature. But somewhere I decided, no, that there is something better for me, so let us not stop here, let us continue where I go. And let me tell you honestly, the two, I won't name the firms where I didn't clear. I see partners from those firms, I see senior members from those firms coming and attending my lectures, coming and attending my seminars. So it is not about boasting myself, but it is something which, you can do it, and you need not stop your journey depending on some failure or depending on someone else. It is you who have to decide where you have to go, and you just have to follow the path, you have to follow the journey, rather than finding reasons for the failures in the external world.
So I have one related question for you from Vaibhav Chatrada. How can one join Big Four after completing CA after many attempts?
See, to be honest, doesn't matter beyond a point how many attempts, because I have been getting these questions time and again. Let me tell you, or let me ask you one thing, whosoever is present on this session. When you go to a doctor for a medicine, or when you go to a doctor for operation, and while you are on the operation table, do you ask the doctor how many attempts did you clear? The answer is no, right? Beyond the point, it doesn't matter. Of course, in your initial career, it will matter. But after 3-4 years down the line, nothing matters. First attempt, second attempt, third attempt. What matters is you are a chartered accountant, you are a qualified professional, and that's all that should matter. On joining Big Four, again I repeat, while I take interviews in today's situation, I never find a first attempt. Let me tell you honestly, I hardly find a first attempt candidate, and I am somebody who doesn't even look at the number of attempts. What do I look at is the inclination in a candidate, whether he is a learning person, whether he is inclined towards learning, is what I look at. Why? Obviously, other interviewers might have other views, but when I take the interviews, I am in Big Four since now more than 11 years. So whenever I take interviews for my team, I don't look at attempts. What I look at is whether your basics are clear. Secondly, whether your CV is clear, what you are writing in your CV and what you are telling me in an interview, that should match. Practically, I have seen individuals who have written n number of things in their CV. For example, attending ITAT hearings, preparing submissions for CIT appeal, blah blah blah, all those big stuff. And when I ask them a simple question, what was the matter involved? What was the issue involved? Sir, I only assisted in filing the adjournment letter. So you are bluffing your CV, which is something which you should avoid. It is not difficult for many attempts, to join a Big Four. It will be difficult, of course, initially, but you need to be true to yourself. You need to do the homework. You need to meet the expectations in the long run, and you will be through.
Yeah, so now you mentioned that being a many attempts person does not affect your ability to join Big Fours, but you were a first attempt. You were a brilliant student at least at your CA course and all throughout graduation. then why did you decide on tax consultancy? Like people of my age will definitely ask you that why did you not go ahead to do an MBA, or why did you not join a corporate for that matter? Why did you stick to a tax consultancy? Was it out of your passion, or were you very comfortable in that zone and didn't want to venture out?
Yeah. So coming to the question on why tax, I can ask the same question to you, why MBA. I can ask the same question to audit guy, why audit. See, tax is something which I enjoy right from the beginning, as I said, and that fascinates me a lot. So that is why I selected tax on my own. And again, I am a continuous learner. I don't believe in stopping at one place. So I want to do something deep into tax. Therefore, I wanted to do international tax and not just restrict myself to domestic tax. And that is the reason I selected Big Fours. That I see, when you call it as tax in today's world, I am into a corporate and international tax. So it is not just tax. We handle international tax, we handle overseas taxation, we handle FEMA, we handle RBI. So there are a lot of aspects involved in taxation as well. And this is something which fascinated me right from the early days. And even today, if you ask me that, obviously, if you are in an organization for 11 years, that says it all. That the reason I am enjoying it, the reason it fascinates me, I am still here. Otherwise, I would have easily changed the job. Because in today's culture, if you see, 3 years is the shelf life. After 3 years, everybody gets bored and I need to move on. I need to find a new organization. Obviously, phases come in life, but the thing is, if you do what you enjoy, you never feel like working. So therefore, when you ask me that where does this energy come from, I did not go for energy somewhere outside. I love doing this, therefore the energy is automatic.
So, and along with your corporate career, you also mentor a lot of students. You take classes, you write articles for them. You just mentioned that you go through their entire CA journey together. How did this start? I mean, did you feel that you wanted to connect to students, or you wanted to help people out, or did you actually enjoy teaching? What is it that interests you to
Yeah. So,
diverge into
yeah.
this?
So for those people who know me since my earlier days, I have been close to students right from my college days, because since I was doing chartered accountancy, and if you know that while doing graduation, if you are doing chartered accountancy, while you are in SY, you cover almost all of your TY become syllabus. So while I was in SY, I used to support my friends who were in TY become, who were elder than me. So I was not teaching them, but I used to support them in clearing their concepts, etc. So from right from my SY become days, I was a so-called teacher, and I used to teach people who were even elder than me. And I don't know, naturally it came to me that this is something which I love. The knowledge which I have, the knowledge sharing is something which I love right from my early days. And I started teaching immediately after I qualified. I have taught even in colleges. I have taught to CA students. Now of course I have restricted myself only to CA courses, and more specifically CA final and international tax, etc., considering the time constraint. But it is something, being with students, my Vikasa team also will support me, that while I am not on any post since any years, but I am always close to students. That is something which keeps me young, that keeps me going. And as I say that I keep failing every 6 months, and that is something which keeps me learning. And students are my lifeline, and they will remain my lifeline throughout.
Wow, that's really great to hear. I mean, I don't know why I didn't have you as a mentor. Now, last question. There's two parts to my last question. One, what do you think are the three qualities a person needs to work in a big four or to work in a corporate? What do you think a student right out of CA final should imbibe in herself or himself to come and work? And what are the three things, three abilities you think a student should maintain while during preparation of CA course?
Yeah, coming to Big Four, or other than Big Four, doesn't matter, to be honest, where you are. What matters is, one is your perception to what you are doing. That should be clear. Your vision should be clear. You should be, you should, before going anywhere, you should ask yourself why, where you are going. Why am I joining this? Is it just because of money, or is it because it fascinates me? Because initially, in your initial days, you will enjoy that, yes, package acha mil raha hai, chale jao. but in long run it will not help you, and you will somewhere, you will be a person who will not enjoy things beyond a point. And once you reach a age, once you cross 30, 35, money will really not matter. So therefore I always say that you should follow your passion. The money will follow automatically. So your perception should be clear. Secondly, you should have patience in life, which I see lacking in today's generation. I'm not saying that I am too old. I'm still in my early 30s, but still, I see that people are not that. You need a lot of patience while you are in Big Four or even in corporates. There will be phases in life where you will feel dejected. You will feel, what am I doing here? As I said, I was leading the practice in my earlier firm, and now in my new organization, literally, let me tell you, 1.5 years I was literally doing printing, xeroxing. As a chartered accountant, I used to tell my manager, boss, you hire a BCom graduate, सस्ते में मिलेगा तुमको भी, एक chartered accountant से तुम ये सब क्या करा रहे? So there will be phases in life, something which you won't enjoy initially, but if you have patience, that is phase which will go through. Now today we are in a situation where we are in lockdown since more than 84 days. Nobody likes it, but we are coping with it, right? At the same point in time, when you are in a corporate world, there are many things which is new to you, which you won't like, but that is something which you need to learn. Adaptability is something which is very, very critical wherever you are, in Big Four or in a corporate world. You need to adapt to the situation, and then mold yourself in that organization. You will never ever know where the time flies, and where you the growth will come automatically if you go with the flow. And the last aspect which I see in a person is the learning. You should never stop learning, right? अरे यार सीए हो गया, अभी और कितना पढ़ेगा? See, I am not telling you to add degrees. I am not telling you to pursue MBA. I am not telling you to do law. That is something which, if you want to do, obviously you can do. But apart from it is not just about the degree. It is about the knowledge for a chartered accountant that will sail them through in a long run. So therefore, what is important for you is you should never ever stop learning, and that is one of the that is one of the main reason that I selected tax. That every year we have budget, every year we need to study, so we need to be on our toes. Being a chartered accountant, you will not like to be in a 9 to 5 job doing routine things every day and getting bored. We are the people who like challenges, and for challenging yourself, you need to be upgrading yourself every day and every years going by. So this is something which I believe that you should do. Coming to the second part of your question on the student's life, what is something which you should do as a student? Let me tell you one thing. As a student, what is important for you is, while you are in your CA final, forget about, I would say, even while you are in IPCC, but practically it won't be possible. While you are in CA final, you should cut off yourself as far as possible from your social life. I won't say cut off as in isolation, but as far as practicable, cut off yourself from social life. Focus on what is required. Of course, there will be some times where you need to attend functions, where you need to meet friends. I'm not saying to underground yourself, but as far as practicable, you should do that. You should be focusing on your studies. You should be planning your studies well in advance. Just as you plan your vacations, just as you plan your whatever extracurricular activities, in the same manner you should plan your studies. Have your calendar in place and follow that calendar judiciously. Nobody will come and suppose you are more social in life, that won't help, right? Your family members, your immediate family members, of course, will be there to support you, but the same people whom you were roaming around with will at the back of you say, hey, see, he was trying to act smart, CA kara tha, fail ho gaya. These are the same people who will bitch you in at your back. So you should cut off yourself from all those stuff. You should be yourself. Analyze where you went wrong, analyze where you go wrong. And it is all about psychology, is all I say. That chartered accountancy course is all about psychology. You need to give right instructions to your mind. Now let me tell you, tomorrow if you have to catch a flight in the morning at 5 a.m., will you get up early at 3 or not? Or will you need an alarm? Of course you will have an alarm, but mind you, I bet that you will get up well before the alarm if you want to catch a flight for a vacation, or suppose you have to go to Thailand or whichever Maldives or whichever place you like to go. You don't need an alarm to wake yourself up, right? So you will, while you will have an alarm on a safer side, 3 बजे का alarm रखा है, but आप 2:30 बजे उठ जाओगे on your own, because you have trained your mind before going to your bed that yes, tomorrow I am going to do something different, tomorrow I have to go to Maldives or whichever place, and you will wake yourself up automatically. So you need to give positive instructions to your mind rather than giving negative instructions. If you enjoy studying, now obviously if you ask me, do you enjoy studying? Abhi tum हाँ बोलोगे, but then practically not everybody enjoys studying. Most of us are doing because of whatever reasons, forcefully. But studying is something which you should start enjoying yourself, and as I said, your interest will reflect in your mark sheet. And when I say giving positive instructions to your mind, you will have friends around ki boss बहुत difficult है, syllabus बहुत बड़ा है, blah blah blah. That is why I say you should cut off yourself from the outside world and be yourself. Don't go for too many advices, because if you ask 10 people, you will have 10 different advices, and somewhere you will be losing your own individuality. Somebody will say you raat bhar padhai karo, but you are a person that I am a person who wakes up early. I can't be, you know, waking up late in the night. So if you try changing yourself as per the others, that will not help you. You need to be yourself. At the same time, give positive instructions to your mind rather than giving negative instructions. For example, will I clear, will I clear, rather than asking yourself, will I clear, doubting yourself, I will clear. Have that goal clear in your life, and only then you will be able to, you know, do justice to what you are doing. Last but not the least, have a practical goal or a goal which is measurable in life. As I said, ask yourself why the hell you want to do chartered accountancy. It can be any damn thing. It can be money. It can be, I want 1 crore in my bank account. I want a 3 BHK flat in Mumbai. I want to own a Mercedes. See, it can be something, but that something has to be tangible and not something intangible. I want to be big. I want to be known in the market. See, you can be known by doing wrong things also. But have something tangible in mind which fascinates you, and have the picture of that in your bedroom or wherever you sleep, so that that will keep you going, that this is where I need to reach, and you will not find, or you will not need, you know, motivation from outside. I always say that you will get inspired from third parties, you will get inspired from third person, but that inspiration is always temporary. Let me tell you, today you are listening to Anushri, you will find, wow, Anushri is great, wow, Anushri is great, I also want to be like her, I also want to do MBA. But these all things will be temporary. Let me tell you, ये आज रात तक तुम्हारे साथ रहेगा, कल सोडा bottle, फुस, everything will go away. While Anushri is an inspiration, she will be an inspiration, but for you to be like her, the motivation should come from within. Inspiration is something which should be with you, but motivation should come from within. Unless you motivate yourself, you won't be another Anushri. And let me tell you, we don't want another Anushri also. We want another individual like you. You should be yourself. As I always say, you should be yourself. You should create your own identity. So you have inspiration today in Anushri. We want you to be inspiration going forward. And we want you to come and share this stage with us, where we will interview you. We will ask you, how was your journey? What was your journey? And failing is something which you should not shy of. It's okay being a failure. As I said, after some years, nobody will ask you how many attempts, right? You might have seen your relatives asking, कौन से college से CA कर रहा है, right? And you laugh at them. Similarly, when anybody asks you how many attempts, you should just laugh at them. मुंह पे मत हंसो, मन में हंसो, चलेगा. But just laugh at them and move on. Don't you know, catch that 3 attempts, 4 attempts, doesn't matter beyond the point. You should be your own motivation, and inspirations will be there to support you. And always have your why in life. That is WHY, not why. If you have why in life, you will get an answer to how automatically. अगर आपको पता है that आप ये चीज क्यों कर रहे हो, आपको कैसे करना है, या वो गोल तक कैसे पहुंचना है, you will find an answer yourself. You will not need an external person to support you how to reach their goal. As simple as that. अगर आपको ट्रेन पकड़ना है तो आपको पता है रिक्शा पकड़ना है, पैदल जाना है, कैसे भी जाना है. But if you need to catch a train of X particular time, you will find a way. बारिश है, traffic है, whatever. You will find alternate ways to catch that train on your own. So this is how your life is. If you have the goal clear in life, How to reach their goal is something which you will figure out on your own. As simple as that. I think that's all from my side.
I think that was wonderful. We all learned a lot of insights, especially the last question. I think we are already overboard, and
Yeah.
thank you so much, Vyomesh, for doing this with me. I learned a lot of new things, and I
Same
hope
here.
whoever is watching is also motivated or even is getting a little bit of new information. So thank you,
Thank you very much,
Vikasa of
Anushri, for
Thane.
sparing your time from your busy schedule. And it was always an honor to have you here. As I said that we wanted to have you here, and thanks for accepting our invitation. And I'm sure most of the students, while they are here, they would have learned obviously from you. And as I said, these learnings are something which you can correlate with yourself, and this is how you can work on yourself and move on in life. First attempt, second attempt, third attempt does not matter. आज मुझे फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट होने की वजह से कोई ज्यादा सैलरी नहीं मिल रहा है, सेकंड अटेम्प्ट थर्ड अटेम्प्ट जो मेरे लेवल पे है उनको भी सेम सैलरी मिल रहा है, सो डजंट मैटर. And as I said, remember the example of doctor. While you are on the operation theater, you don't go and ask your doctor how many attempts, right? You just trust them, you believe them. Same way as a chartered accountant, you trust the chartered accountant as your advisor, and you trust them and you go with them. So doesn't matter the attempts. Now I hand it over to Karan and Kaushik. If there are any questions, we take it up, or over to you, Karan and Kaushik.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. So, ma'am and sir, we have listed down some of the questions as to there are some students have, especially Anushri ma'am, we have some basic MBA related myths कि CA होने के बाद MBA में कैसे enter करना है and all. So the first question which I have is, why is MBA a lucrative option after a chartered accountancy? What different perspective does it add to your profile? And why it is more considered as more superior somehow than other courses like CS or any other professional course?
Yeah, so I'll take your last question first. That why is it considered more superior? I think that's simply because CA plus CA enough. CA itself is really credible, but CA plus MBA definitely gives you an opportunity to venture out into the managerial positions better and faster. While I say this, I also would like to bring to your attention that if you're a CA, it will only add value to your profile if you do an MBA from the top B schools, because a CA earns enough. A CA has a lot of respect itself in the market. So if you do an MBA from a like a local college, or from a college which is not very famous for its course or the quality of education, then it won't add much value. Only if you try and aim to do it from the top 10 or top 5, whatever is your criteria, if you do it from those colleges which in fact are trying to prefer a lot of chartered accountants, so there's a diversity factor that IMM, the code which are among the top 5, are trying to inculcate in their batch profile. They want a lot of non-engineers, they want chartered accountants, especially because CAs have an edge over other professionals in the finance course. So when the top colleges also need you, I don't know what is there that is stopping you from pursuing an MBA if you want to go out in the industry and attain a managerial position. So this is definitely more credible if you do it from the top colleges, and since they also want you, it's a win-win situation. And what was the first question?
How different it is, like why an MBA?
How is it lucrative? I think
Yeah.
lucrative because it helps you a lot in your entire personality branding, which is why I also say that GMCS as a course introduced by the ICAI is extremely important, because it helps you to groom yourself, be better at public speaking, addressing a crowd, entire personality development. So take your GMCS courses very seriously. It definitely helped me in giving interviews and presenting myself in front of really big industry stalwarts. So that definitely adds a lot of value to your personality. You will definitely go a lot faster in the corporate ladder than any other person.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, so the next question for you is, like we take mocks in our CA exams, mock tests we generally take, and CAT, especially for the CAT, it is known for the mocks. people generally take 2 to 3 mocks before appearing for the final CAT exam. So my question to you is, how many mock tests did you attend for the CAT while preparing for your CAT?
Okay, I don't know who takes 2 or 3 mocks and gets a 98 percentile. I attempted a minimum of 40 mocks, 43 hour mocks, and that is required because as CAs we are not accustomed to MCQ style of answering papers, and of course negative marking as well. So I had to totally unlearn the process of studying for CA exams and relearn a different type of studying, and it is only possible once you take mock tests. So anything around 25 to 30 mocks is recommended, and if people end up taking 2 or 3 attempts for CATs, they almost touch 100 mock tests. So while that is not a norm in CA exams, that is a norm in CAT, that people take a minimum of 25 mock tests before attempting CAT, because that helps you derive your strategy for the main exam.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, as you just mentioned, you
Please don't call me ma'am, yaar.
Yeah, sure. So the thing is, you just mentioned you have to completely shift the thought process as to subjective, from being subjective to being an MCQ based, answering in an MCQ based type. So what is the difference in approach you find while preparing for while you were preparing for your chartered accountancy, and now when you were preparing for your CAT?
I think a lot of basic differences in the manner of your question paper, but one major difference is for CA, you have to read the same text again and again to get into the language of the subject. So if you're studying audit or tax, it is not like you're by hearting it, but you have to read it again and again, because you have to develop that language. You need to get the words right, you need to write the terms right, because in the end it's a law. In CAT, it's not like that. You don't have to study the same thing again and again, but you have to study a lot of different material. Like, it's more important for you to solve different kinds of sums than solving one particular sum or one particular topic again and again. So there is a difference in the way you look at a portion. While CAT does not have a specific portion, it's more varied, and you need just conceptual understanding to attempt every question. While in CA, of course, you have to read the same thing again and again to get into the vibe of the paper and subject.
Right, ma'am. So one last question to you. There are multiple courses available when you enroll for a CA, like a PGP, that is specially for an executive one, the one which is a PGB course, like the IIMs, various IIMs provide. So how did you select, and how you would recommend for a selection of a course for a 2-year program?
Okay, so I'll answer this question only from the point of view of a chartered accountant, but I think major of our audience is in that
right
bracket. So for CAs, I would strongly recommend, I think that is the recommendation of most of the people in MBAs, that go for a 2-year full-time residential course, because that will enable you to, of course, add value to your profile. Your entire CV will look glorious, and another, because that will give you 2 years of time to work on yourself, because as CAs, I think we qualify at a very young age. We qualify at 21, 22, 23 max, and then you have time until you enter into a corporate world. So if you have the time, why not go for 2 years full-time course and get yourself completely ready? There are other courses like PGP Executive, which is for executives who have completed 5 years of work experience.
Right.
That is also recommended, but that is not the flagship programs of major IIMs. IIMs are famous worldwide for their PGP courses, which is the 2-year MBA course, because it makes you ready for any challenge in life ahead. So for CAs especially, plan out on a PGP course. There are people even age 28, 30 in our batch, because they took 3-4 attempts, like engineers who take 3-4 attempts to clear CAT, they're almost 28, 30. So age is not definitely a barrier. You qualify young as a chartered accountant. You have to, if you want to go for a 2-year course, it's definitely better. They again have 1-year management courses, which are also very popular, but they are famous for the 2-year courses, so that is what people generally try.
Right. So we have one question from the YouTube live session, wherein the participant was asking, as to what are those documents we need to submit. As in, she has completed her correspondence, the graduation in a correspondence, and she wants to submit those to the IIMs instead of a CA. So, what is the exact procedure for that?
Okay, so actually the procedure for submitting documents only come after you get your CAT score and once you're applying for interview sessions. So only once you clear your CAT and you get interview calls, should you be thinking of submission of documents. Your main aim right now should be catting crack, because that is what you need. If you're asking me, I don't know who is asking this question, but if in case you're asking whether you can submit your correspondence BCom degree score instead of a normal college driven graduation, I think I will be safe and answer that you go to a particular website of any IIM and look into their rules and guidelines whether a corresponding course can be considered as a BCom or a graduation degree. But most probably you will not be questioned on this. You will definitely be requiring a CAT percentile to get an interview call, and only then will you be asked for documents. And if you're asking me that you have graduation scores and you have CA degree and you want to put forward a graduation score because your CA degree is less, CA percentage is less, then no, it does not happen that way. You have to put your graduation percentage separately, and you have to put your CA percentage or any professional qualification separately, and you will get points for both of them depending upon your percentage. So you can't skip any of those.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Vyomesh, sir, we have a few questions for you as well.
Yeah.
So the first question was, how is that you just mentioned you identified the liking for taxation in your second year of articleship.
Yes.
So as a article assistant, how can we identify the liking as to I need to do this, I need to venture into auditing, I need to venture into indirect taxation, as to selection of a particular course?
Yes. So see, there are a couple of aspects to this question. I would answer it in two ways. First of all, you should get enough exposure in multiple things so that you can compare that which is better for me, or which is something which I like or which fascinates me. That is one thing. And second thing which you need to understand is whether there is a scope in this particular area as to earn my livelihood. Let me tell you, we are doing everything to earn vitamin M. Let us be honest to ourselves. So while I like something, that is one aspect. The second aspect is whether it will earn enough for me and my family to grow. Is there a scope, as we say technically speaking, in that particular field? If you get the answers to both these questions, then that is where you have to be. Now, for example, I like playing cricket, right? Can I make a career in cricket? The answer is no, because for whatever reason, there are a lot of competitions. I may not be successful, blah, blah, blah. So this is something where you need to weigh yourself that yes, one, I like taxation for that matter. Will taxation be here? Let me tell you, till the time there is mankind, taxation will be there. So therefore, I have answered both the questions. When I ask this to myself, the answer is yes. So if my answer to both these questions is yes, then obviously I will go for it. As simple as that.
Right, sir. Sir, and one of the questions was, what are the myths you want that roams around with respect to Big Four, which you want to really break? कि हाँ ये नहीं होता actually Big Four में ऐसा, एक सिर्फ ऐसा myth बना के रखा है इस बारे में.
So myth
generally
about
CAs clear होने के बाद जो when they venture out for Big Four, this is one biggest myth you have listened, you have heard, and जो actually वहाँ पे exist नहीं करता वैसा कुछ.
Yes, so one of the myth which I see is late sitting, which everybody crib about, that there is a lot of late sittings in Big Four. I understand. I won't say it's a myth completely, but yes, it depends with which team you are working. For example, if you ask me, I am completely against late sitting. I have a clear instruction for my team. I don't want anybody sitting in office beyond 7:38. As simple as that. So it depends on with whom you are working, and with which team you are working in Big Four. And see, every person will have a different style of working. And yes, when it is required, it is required. When you have a deliverable, when it is a season, that is audit season, the return seasons, the assessment seasons, at that point in time, you have to be there.
Right.
So It is when you support your team will support when it is required. So late sitting is one of the myths which I want to clarify. Second myth is Big Four is all about the PowerPoint presentations and no gyan. Let me tell you, Big Four is something where you get whole lot of resources which you want under the sun. You can learn any damn thing being in Big Four. So therefore, I am here and I am still continuing there because every day I learn something new. So it is not about being silo. Yes, we believe in specialization, but that is for your own good, and that is for good of the people around and even the corporates or the economy as a whole. So while we believe in specialization, you have to be jack of all trades and you have to be master of at least one.
Right, sir. So
Yeah.
one last common question to you both as well as Anushri is, how you see social media today as a CA, as an MBA, and LinkedIn. How important is to have a good LinkedIn profile, and how important it is to get across LinkedIn and connect to people. As in, there are other different social media platforms, I agree, but LinkedIn is far more professional, and I've seen it helps tremendously to individuals. So how would you recommend that, and what exactly would you recommend when you are using LinkedIn as a profile for generating, creating a profile, creating a CV, finding your jobs, and etc.
So just to answer your question on LinkedIn, yes, it is a very good social platform. We have Facebook for which is for informal things. So LinkedIn is Facebook for professional things, I would say, where you get to connect with various people from different backgrounds, and it is a real network building opportunity on LinkedIn. If you remember, we had planned for a session, a detailed session on LinkedIn, how to build your profile, but we are yet to do it. So what is important in LinkedIn is you get to connect with the right person at the right point in time. You will find n number of people who want to connect with you once you have built your profile. At the same time, while at your level when you are building the profile, right? When you are connecting to say a person like Anushri who is an IIM, or a person like a senior chartered accountant, whosoever. See, the most common mistake is that once I accept your request, the immediate message I get, sir, I'm looking for a job, right? Please find attached here with my CV. See, this is not the right way, right? I know, or everybody knows that you are there for a purpose. But for getting to that purpose, you need to build that network first. You need to build that communication first, right? Know the person, understand how he is. You know, some person might be rigid. Ye kya bakwas, spam, block that person, right? Some people might be receptive. So therefore, while you build your profile on LinkedIn, what you need to do first, building your LinkedIn profile is add the facts of whatever are your achievements, be it qualificational, be it educational, extracurricular activities, any presentations you give, etc. That will build your case, and the HRs from the other organizations are already looking for good candidates much more than you are looking for the job. So your all these profile building activities will help you to better your profile as compared to the other competitors. At the same point in time, when you connect with the person, connect with the purpose, and not just for for getting a job or getting articleship or whatever. You should connect for knowledge sharing. You should connect for gaining knowledge from that person, because if he is a senior person, you have a lot to learn from him. Follow his profile, follow what he is posting, he or she, whatever, and that is something which will help you, rather than being a foolish, I would say, I will use in loose language, that I am looking for a job. Boss, this is not a charity thing which somebody you will just post for somebody you are not knowing, and he will give you hand over you the job. So build your profile on your own rather than begging on LinkedIn. I'll be blunt, but this is how you should build your profile. Suppose you are a vice chairman of Vikasa, update your LinkedIn profile. I have been a vice chairman of Vikasa.
Yeah.
Suppose
Right.
you have delivered a lecture in even within your office. It's okay. Update your LinkedIn profile. Delivered a session on so and so, which was well appreciated, etc., etc. So whatever you do related to your professional stuff, only professional stuff, update that on LinkedIn and build your profile, and then you will see people coming to you automatically, like you will be a magnet and people will connect with you, right? So this is how you should build your profile on LinkedIn. Now, Anushree is already a big magnet with this IIM CAT 98.2 percentile. She will automatically attract, lot many requests on LinkedIn and lot many questions on LinkedIn also. That how did you clear? What is your experience, etc., etc. So this is what I say, that once you have that in you, post it on LinkedIn, and you will be a magnet. Yeah.
I think he has covered most of it. Only one small tip, since you asked any tips. I think if you're approaching someone for some help or advice, also approach the right person. That is very important. You don't have to go and approach Bill Gates or Shikha Sharma or some big shot. They will not reply to you. You can ask questions to somebody who's from your background, who has a little bit of more experience than you are. So if somebody questions me, I will be very glad to answer, because I love it when somebody asks me something on LinkedIn. I am nobody, but still I will enjoy answering, and I will respond how much ever I can. But if you go on and ask somebody big shot, people directly message the founders, they will never reply. And then you should know whom to reply. Likewise, people will come to me and ask me, like he said, do you have any job vacancy? I mean, how am I supposed to help you in that genre? So you need to know whom to approach. So do that, and I think everybody else will try and help you out.
Yeah. Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Karan.
Hand it over to Kaushik Jaga, sir.
Yeah, Kaushik is not there. I think we have Radhika Joshi from Thane Vikasa. I request Radhika to give her concluding remarks, and ultimately back to Karan for the formal word of thanks. Now I am not a speaker. I am now a part of Vikasa.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me this opportunity to present the vote of thanks today. I, on behalf of Thane Vikasa and my own behalf, would like to thank CA Anushree Naik ma'am for providing us wonderful insights regarding IIM and also bursting various myths that people commonly have regarding this institution. I would also like to thank CA Vyumesh sir for sharing your insight regarding failures. I am sure this will help a lot of students. This will motivate them. Also, I would like to thank Thane Vikasa, Navi Mumbai Vikasa, KD Vikasa, and Satara Vikasa, and all the respected members who could find time out of their busy schedule and attend this eye-opening seminar. Thank you, everyone, for attending and being a wonderful audience.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Karan, over to you.
So, first of all, a very big thank you to CA Anushree Naik for sparing her time and sharing the most important aspects as to MBA. Generally, CA plus MBA is a big thing. Generally, people सोचते हैं कि CA के बाद अभी क्या करें, and MBA generally कोई prefer नहीं करता, as to what I have seen. And the ones who take up, I've seen the graph just go up like anything. And to have a live session with the person who will be just joining an IIM Ahmedabad is one big opportunity for us to know what are the possible aspects you need to understand, what are the intricacies basically you need to know. CA होने के बाद भी MBA is one अलग alien field, it's completely an alien field, wherein you need to understand the smallest of the smallest things when right from approaching to the exam to the institute when you get in, and the approach, the paradigm shift in approach as to how you need to carry yourself and etc. A lot of things goes in there. So thank you, Anushree, for giving us a wonderful insight as to what it is exactly required in case of an MBA, and especially helping out with the CAT. CAT is also one big thing you need to crack. ऐसा है कि CA का ऐसा है कि CA once you get in, you need, there is a struggle. But CAT is completely a different ball game. You have to have a complete different approach towards it, towards studying it, towards preparing for it. So a big thank you to my mentor, CA Vyumesh Pathak sir. I personally say he's a mentor to me because right from my IPCC days, he's been my professor here, and he knows me very closely on my academic basis and also on personal basis. So a big thank you, Vyumesh sir, to you for giving us a wonderful insight as to what CA has opportunities for us. CA exam के time कैसा क्या करना है, and post CA what are the opportunities for CA. only अगर CA करते हैं तो CA के बाद भी what are the opportunities available for us. Thank you so much. I would also like to thank the Thane Vikasa, the Navi Mumbai Vikasa, the Satara Vikasa, and all others, the audience, the lovely audience who have joined us today for this wonderful seminar. A very big thank you on everyone, from everyone. A big thank you to you. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So we end this meeting. I have another meeting to join at 9.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Have a nice day.